Live and direct, welcome back everybody to another episode of Monday Night Live right here on Amazon Fire TV. My name is Mo Rock alongside my wonderful co-host, Dr. Natalie Forrest. And Natalie, don't we have a real exciting and timely show this week as usual?
Oh, I believe so. And I'm even more excited about the expert panelists today because they actually know everything that we're talking about. I know we always have experts like that, but this time they're coming from a range of different industries. So it's going to be really, really exciting. Oh,
Absolutely.
hi, Panja.
Absolutely. And, for those that don't know, Natalie's saying hi to the imaginary background that you guys can't see at home. But, Natalie, this is the CEO Roundtable episode. And so what we've brought in is we brought CEOs from a multitude of different industries and companies that range in different sizes. Because what you and I both know, Natalie, is everyone has different goals in business. For some people, simply being self-employed and being able to sustain their lifestyle and pay their bills without having to go to work, without having a boss, without having to be on someone's payroll, that is their dream come true, right? They just want to be able to take care of themselves, pay their bills, and that's what their goals are. And we have some people today that are in that department and they do it well. We have others that have multi-million-dollar businesses on this panel. We have some people here that have companies that qualify to be, a Inc. 5000 company. So we have a different range of industries and a different range of goals that the CEOs of this week's panel have achieved. But ultimately, as always, everything comes down to leadership. And this week's episode is going to give you guys the tools necessary to lead your life and lead your business. And of course, I want to thank everybody in the virtual auditorium. Our favorite, one of our top supporters from the first week that we did this is in the virtual auditorium, Mr. Pankaj. I don't know where he's contacting us from. It must be morning. I don't know where, but for us, it's not morning, but good evening, good afternoon, Mr. Dayal. As always, thank you to all the people in the virtual auditorium. And, Natalie, before we bring our wonderful guests in, I do want to remind everyone to mark their calendars because there's a real powerful, exciting event that you guys do not want to miss. In February, you guys want to mark your calendars. We have Lisa Nichols, Joe Vitale, and many other real exciting surprises. We have the CEO of
Don't give it
Priceline.
away. Don't give it away. Don't give it away.
Can I just share one of them, Natalie?
Yeah, but just one more. Just one more right now.
We have the CEO of Priceline.com that will be there. Thanks to Axel Tillman, who's actually a world-renowned investor and one of the people on this week's panel. So definitely mark your calendars. You don't want to miss our next major event. And without further ado, let's roll in some of the CEOs and get the party started. Look at this incredible panel that we have from all around the world. And so I want to start off with everyone here just giving a brief introduction, what their company does, the mission and vision of their company. And from there, we'll really get the ball rolling. But let's go ahead and start with Anshuman Sinha. Welcome to the CEO Roundtable. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mo. Thank you, Natalie, for bringing me back on this exclusive CEO Roundtable. I'm so thankful to both of you. Hello, everyone. My name is Anshuman Sinha. 3 hats that I wear every day. I'm the president of Thai SoCal, which is the world's largest entrepreneur organization. Other than that, I run a placement agency of executive search firm. And after that, during this pandemic, I started a company called Startup Asteroid, trying to help founders find money, investment for their startups.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. And of course, we do want to briefly mention that Anshuman, as president of Thai SoCal, we at the Los Angeles Tribune are a proud media partner and strategic partner of that fine organization. And, that relationship has been very fruitful. And in fact, I think that it's appropriate for you to plug a major event that you're working on that I believe is next week, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So this Saturday, we are going to have our first 20th TaiCon, but first digital TaiCon. And Jeffrey Ma, the vice president of startups at Microsoft, is the keynote speaker on there. We will be having it digitally available on all the formats. And it is going to start from 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. We will have exclusive startups, great founders, and also great speakers, various panels having all that day. So please mark your calendar. And if you have already not registered, please go to www.thaisocal.com and find other details from there, or visit thaicommsouthwest.com and please register for the event.
Incredible. And I think that you guys will be pleasantly surprised. If you are a fan of this show, you'll see some familiar faces at that event as well. Let's now go to the opposite side of this incredible panel and go down to Axel Tillman. Axel, go ahead. The floor is yours.
First of all, again, Mo and Natalie, thank you so much for having me tonight. And for you, it's almost midnight over there on the other side of this country. And so I run an organization called Alpha Consult, in which I help startup companies, I think before they even can pitch to Thai SoCal, to understand what they actually have. Going to market strategy, for which we will be probably talking a little bit today about as well, is so critical to actually entice investors. So the investors don't like to read into you what you're doing. They want to immediately hear from you what you're doing. Besides this, I'm also a regular on Pitch Global, which will be actually co-managing the event. We have the second day where we do a large pitch competition, where you already proudly announced that Jeff Hoffman, former CEO from Priceline, will be the keynote speaker and all-day judge. That will be very exciting. And I also work on a couple of private projects, and one of them is basically a new fund that we are starting that will actually utilize the medium of TV in the form of American Idol meets Apprentice to actually vet the companies in which ultimately will be invested.
Absolutely. And for those of you that are interested in that program, keep your eyes posted. We do have a lot of work between Alpha Consult and the LA Tribune coming up, and some real incredible, exciting things, not only on Amazon Fire TV, but also on our new Roku TV channel that's launching this week on the 12th. So keep your eyes posted on that. Let's go right there in the middle to someone who, has, in my opinion, one of the coolest first names. I just love this man's name, Tehran. He runs a beautiful company. He has a beautiful vision, and Tehran happens to be a very beautiful city. I do, in full disclosure, I'm a little biased, but nonetheless, Tehran, the floor is yours.
Hey, thank you much, Mo and Natalie, for inviting me to the panelist group. My name is Tehran Glover. I'm not Middle Eastern, from the East Coast of the United States, from New Jersey. I'm one of the founders of I Do Systems. We're a tech company, and we develop software tools to help small businesses become sustainable. We need to grow a roadmap to go from all of the life cycle stages to become sustainable companies. Our mission and goal is for business owners to actually cultivate and proactively seek after experts, coaches, consultants to help them in their journey to become their subjective version of successful, or the objective version of sustainable, but to stop the death rates of small businesses through technology, in a nutshell.
And the work that you and Carlton and a lot of your partners have been doing is truly remarkable. And Tehran, I think that there is something that we haven't publicly announced yet between you, Carlton, and LAT TV. Go ahead and just let people know a small snippet of what you have in store with our friend Carlton and what you're going to be doing for entrepreneurship in the next few months.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you to, again, Los Angeles Tribune for the opportunity to actually present it to people. So we're going to be presenting a show that actually allows entrepreneurs to tune in and get direct information from specific experts in specific fields, what we call the 5 pillars of sustainability. It's what we built the whole software on: the infrastructure, management, marketing, finances, and credit, and how they each are individual pillars, if you will, that need exclusive attention in order to get the best that you can out of it to apply into your business. So a lot of times, well, all of the time, it's always good to have objective information coming in, especially when you're trying to pursue your passion to achieve your goals. So we want to add experts and make them attainable, I should say, to entrepreneurs trying to pursue their passion and goals.
Thank you for that, and keep your eyes posted on that. Next, I want to go to someone who runs a financial institution. And, as generations continue to evolve and a new generation of leaders emerge in the world of business, people that are more modern thinking, a little bit more on the younger side, at least chronologically speaking, oftentimes fill that void, fill that power void. And David Hernandez is a leader, a CEO, a man who runs a very big institution, and really he's a thought leader. And in fact, earlier this year, his organization was named one of the top financial institutions in the world as far as customer service, integrity, and just overall reviews from people. And in an industry where, quite frankly, there's a lot of companies that don't have a good relationship between their clients. We all know that the financial sector, especially since 2008, has had sort of a poor reputation amongst the consumers and been vilified quite a bit for good reason. So when there's one of the good apples that are doing it the right way, that are growing at exponential speed, we want to learn what is your mentality, what really makes you motivated to do right by the American consumer. So welcome, David Hernandez. Talk a little bit about your company, your vision, your mission, until we get the ball rolling with some of the next speakers. The floor is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mo. So my name is David Hernandez. I'm the owner, CEO of Gold West Financial. Gold West Financial is a company that basically assists consumers that are dealing with, an amount of debt that's causing some issues in their life. So we partner them with different lenders. We work with quite a bit of lenders out there in different states, trying to help them get a loan to consolidate their bills, reduce their interest, reduce their payments, kind of get them in a better financial situation. And then we're also helping consumers find alternative options if that's not something that's available to them for various reasons, to find a solution that's going to kind of put an end to the path that they've been on and kind of the bleeding that these consumers have been experiencing. Our vision is based on the consumers, but it's also based on our employees. Our vision is really to build a efficient, sustainable business that not only benefits society and provide some type of value to the consumers that we're dealing with, but to also provide opportunity for our employees to not just have a job and to have a career where they can grow within the company and continue to progress and better themselves and feel good about what they do on a daily basis. So we really put our consumers first, and we put our employees first behind anyone that's behind, our business. That's our main priority, is making sure the consumer is taken care of. I think for us, the way I view it is, consumers are the same as myself and anyone else, right? As we expect to be treated a certain way, we expect companies to treat us a certain way. We expect things to be very transparent, upfront, and honest. And putting ourselves in the consumer's shoes, knowing that we're just like them, we really strive to provide the absolute best experience, where if we were on the other side of the table, we would appreciate everything that we're doing for them. So that's kind of what we do. We do a few different other things, but that's really where the main core focus of our business is out today.
Thank you for that, David. And I want to later on in this conversation bring Anshuman and you in a dialogue about the morale of the marketplace and recruiting the right person and treating people the right way. Because it's interesting, if you studied the work of Simon Sinek, who I know a lot of people that watch this are a fan of, what he noticed through exhaustive research is the millennial generation, once they started to go in the workforce, they were more motivated by the way that they're treated, the mission, the vision, not just the paycheck. And I think that's one of the secrets to your success, David. And you brought that up, and we'll revisit it. I want to now go to Michelle. Michelle, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mo, and thank you, Natalie, for having me today. And, I specialize in really supporting especially C-level executives who want to just throw away the key of corporate America and join us on the other side of entrepreneurship. And how I do that is this really helping them define what wealth is. And I believe wealth is, having access to cash, resources, networks, investments, expert knowledge and wisdom and support. I'm the founder of Velocity Group Global, and only recently I've just actually collaborated with the Tabibian Group, and we've created Vertical Velocity. And what we did is took our strengths. I love working with women and creating footprints and strategies. And Ashkin, he loves working with the big vision. So we came together creating Vertical Velocity. So I'm really excited to be here this evening.
We're very excited to have you. And, Dr. Forrest, I know that with such an exciting group, there's so many directions we can take it. What is something that stuck out to you from these introductions to really get the ball rolling?
Well, I think there were two things. Number one is that there seems to be an emphasis really on the customer or the entrepreneur and a mission to help them. So that prompted to me the second piece that I kept hearing, which is I'm successful and it was not necessarily easy. So one of the things that I would love to hear is how did you get to where you are, and what were the challenges that you overcame, that you learned from? Like maybe one big challenge that you had that got you to where you are, that can help other entrepreneurs maybe not take the same kind of steps, I should say.
I think that's wonderful, Natalie. And knowing everyone's story here, I know that everyone here has had a lot of challenges. You know, the people on this panel, for the most part, I know personally to an extent, and I know everyone here has a very unique story, whether that's coming out of poverty and becoming successful, whether that's immigrating from a different country and becoming successful, whether it's dealing with a whole host of different personal issues and becoming successful. So I think that you hit the nail on the head, Natalie, because this panel, what I can tell you about everyone on this panel is they have a lot of grit. They have a lot of tenacity. They have a lot of toughness. And I think that that's a prerequisite. And if this past year has taught us anything about business, is that you need to have those things to be successful. Because there were a lot of people, Natalie, that sort of took their success for granted. And success came easy for them. And this past year, they saw everything crumble like a house of cards. But the people that had that grit, the people that had that toughness, the people that had that tenacity, they not only survived, they thrived. And so let's get the ball rolling and talk about tenacity, toughness, and grit in business. Let's start with Axel, because I know that Axel has had to go through a lot of those things. And Natalie, you'll relate to his story. Both of you immigrated from Germany. Was it the west side or the east side, Natalie?
Seriously, you're asking that again? Hamburg. That's like the West. That's like, the media city, the green city, yes, Hamburg.
Okay, good.
West.
Okay, so Axel, the floor is yours. Let's talk about the importance of grit in business.
Actually, not only grit, but also the importance to know the difference between good-heartedness and necessary, how should I say, not brutalness, but necessary cuts that you have to make, even if it sounds inhumane to others. I lost a company by not knowing that principle very well. I brought on a VP of sales, and I let him sustain himself. Despite that I knew about 2 months in, I made a wrong decision. So he stayed on. He ultimately cost me the company. Right. So that is a very tough lesson to learn. And because you always felt like, you brought him on, you have a responsibility, give it another try, but it's not worth at the end of the day. So you have to have the necessary grit to make these tough decisions at one point in time. And to no surprise, a Harvard professor wrote a book about the top 50 failures that startup companies make. And guess what? The biggest failure are that you start a company with friends and family.
Yeah.
Because that's where you, at the least, can make the decision. You are my best friend, but I have to fire you. That's something very, very tough to do, right? So personnel, it doesn't mean that you dictate as a CEO. It only means that you have to make the ultimate tough decisions when things don't work out. Yeah, and in my life, I'm probably running about the 20th startup company, many attempts in Germany, some successful. Year 3 exit in the US. I actually was more successful in the US than I was actually in Germany, because here you learn the very tough rules of business and how to think about it. So that was my piece of advice.
Thank you very much. And Axel, you mentioned don't do business with friends and family. And although I can understand that, I will add a caveat, because I understand that there's been a lot of research done in that. But I'm just speaking for myself. I have to do business with people I like. I don't care how much money we can make. This is just me. I really don't care how much money we can make. If I don't like you, I'm not doing business with you. Because I have to know that my talents that have a certain market value, okay, if I don't like you, why would I want to utilize my talents in the market to generate revenue so you can buy your third house if I don't even like you, right?
No,
I have to like you.
The like has nothing to do, but there is something special between liking somebody and it being also a family member. And in many families, you don't even like the family member, right?
And you said family and friends, though, right? Because I do business. Yeah, I do business with my friends all the time, and it works out well. Knock on wood. But let's keep the ball rolling. Since you mentioned startups, I want to go to Anshuman because Anshuman has a lot of experience with startups, and he's seen some exits as well. So let's go to Anshuman.
Thank you, Mo. And I echo with Axel, what he told about friends and family. Family for sure. Don't go to family for your advice on your business related to your startup, because they can't, give you the proper guidance, or, they will not cut through the chase and, be very direct to you. And that is difficult for family members to do. Other than that, don't hire anybody that you can't fire. Rule number one. Just don't hire anybody that you can't fire. And other than that, obviously, hard work. Many people work 8 to 5 and think one day they will be successful. If you want to be successful, you will have to work 5 to 8. If you are smart enough, you know which is AM, which is PM. So, there is no shortcut. You have to pay your dues. You have to work. Don't start a startup just for the heck of it. You should do your research. You have to know what it takes. Who is your competition? How big is the market? Can you be successful? Do you have the right team? Many people, and I echo with Mo also, you have to do business with people that you like. It is very difficult to find a startup with obviously there will be only one CEO, but one owner of the startup. You have to have a co-founder. You can't do everything which it takes for a startup to make it. And who will be your co-founder? The co-founder has to be somebody that you can spend time with, somebody who can, work at your pace, somebody who is there for you, supporting you, so that you can also support them. Then only a startup will be successful.
And I'll add to that, Anshuman, delegation and the compromise that's required for delegation, because a lot of CEOs, they're too emotionally attached to their company. And for them, the business is not just about having it be successful. It's some sort of a emotional
Can I play
extension
devil's advocate for just a moment? Because I do agree with Mo. However, I do agree that family and friends, if your family supports your vision, if your family supports what it is that you're doing and wants to be a part of it. My mom is my business partner, but what made that work is that there were clearly defined roles within the business. She was to take a certain part of that business and I do the other, and therefore it works very well. It does well if everybody's kind of working on the same stuff, or they're not in alignment with the vision of the company and they don't want the same thing that you want. So I interviewed, me and my mom, my mom had to interview for the business, and we have that clearly established roles where if I want to talk to her about business, I say, this is a business call. And if I have to talk personal, this is a personal call. And it works really well. And like most that I know, and I can know, like, and trust her. And obviously, once you grow beyond, then you bring other people in. But I've done a lot of ventures with my friends and we have a great time doing it. It makes it more fun.
Absolutely. And I know there were some technical issues there with Jennifer, but glad to see you back. Hopefully there are no delays. So let's now go to David. David, where do you stand on this subject matter?
I think everyone's brought up some really good points about it, quite honestly. And I don't think it's a black and white answer. I think a lot of it really, it depends on the individual. I think for the most part, family can be very problematic. And we talked about the issues why it's hard to fire them. You're going to see if you start fighting about business stuff, then you go to Thanksgiving next week, it's kind of hard to get along, right? Because you got those other stuff going on, and it sometimes creates tensions. And I personally have seen a lot of businesses who have worked with family members, and sometimes the owner, right? Maybe his kid is the one working in the business and he's not being treated the same, even though he says he would. And then it starts creating tension within the other people who are saying, well, why are you telling him to do this? And why is he getting an extra break? And why aren't you being hard on him? But I'm working 3 times harder, right? I know I personally have experienced that with the company back in the day. And I know quite a bit of people who do that. It doesn't mean that they're not successful. It doesn't mean that it can't work. It doesn't mean that they can still get the job done and get where they need to be at. But it does come with a lot of weight that can be attached to it. So I'm not for it or not for it. Personally, I don't like to do business with family, but that's my preference. I think you got to kind of weigh those risks, and your relationships are going to be different per, other individuals. And if it's something that you think could work and you can make those decisions and have those hard conversations, you can point out the truth, right? You guys are upfront with each other. You have a good relationship. You're aligned with the vision. That's probably most important. And everyone's both on the same page. Absolutely. Why would it not work? But again, it's going to vary based on the people that are involved.
It can't work in certain. Yeah, go ahead, Natalie. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to ask a follow-up question on that, David, because you're in the financial industry, right? So I'm wondering, when a startup comes to you, is that something you look at actually in case they're asking for investments or anything like that, for funding? Is that something that you actually look at where you say, okay, what's your setup? You have all your family members, but do you have any contracts with them or not? Or how do you use that or not use that in funding?
Sure. So, I mean, I've invested in several different businesses, and, I've never asked them, is your family members involved, right? But, I go more based on the individual. I think I don't really get into that. I want to see their numbers, right? I want to see their annual projections. I want to kind of talk to them, get to know them as an individual. And if they sound like a solid individual who I know more than likely is going to be successful and be able to be good at what, I also believe that they'll also be intelligent enough to know when to draw the line. They'll be able to handle the job of delegating tasks, handling the job of being able to fire someone if necessary, or to make the necessary changes within their business. I think as long as they have those types of skill sets, that type of personality, I don't need to know if their family's involved, because I know that that's the right person that will get the job done, whether it's their brother, their cousin, their friend, or a complete stranger. They'll handle each and everything exactly the same. That's really what I'm looking for, is the individual itself.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
It's interesting how so many people have different perspectives on this issue, but I think it proves the point that in business, it's a formless art. There are very few rules that are absolutes in the world of business, and that's what makes it so exciting. Let's go to Tehran.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I actually agree with David, and I think it's both. I think it's both, actually. It depends on circumstance. As far as with family and what I've found out, what seems to be a regular situation with family is that your family knows you from decades ago. They don't necessarily know, understand, or accept or embrace the person you evolve into, especially as your business mind evolves. You'll always be the certain person that they talk about at, in certain levels. Now that can be a great thing too, because again, like David was saying about being mission driven. So sometimes you're not going to have anybody that's going to be as mission driven behind your mission like your mother. I would think any person. Doesn't mean she's as qualified as what may be available, and that's just a super plus when that does happen. But I tend to look at it like as far as family is concerned, from what I call one of the 80-20 rules. I know there's a lot of them, but the 80-20 rule as far as transcension in life, that 80% of as we transcend in life, 80% of the people that we're going to involve ourselves with, we will have never met until that time. Mm-hmm. And only 20% of the people that we went to high school with are actually going to transcend with us as we go to other levels in life. We meet strangers who have the same mission and goal as us as adults, and their life journey from that point is to make that mission kind of happen. That's a different camaraderie that can happen because, again, because I like you. Because if I can like you, I cannot like you the next day. And it can go back and forth. When we're mission driven, like isn't even an option. We have something to do that's larger than the likes. I have to get over it right now because we got something bigger than both of us to do. So I kind of agree with both. If it's an option, great, because you can't get any better than that as far as family is concerned. But I would not practice nepotism just because they're family. You have to still qualify.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you stand on this, Michelle?
I want to agree with David and Ramon. It's really about family having the same mindset, going back to mindset, because entrepreneur takes a certain mindset. So, if you're with a family member or a friend that doesn't have the same mindset, you're not going to make it in business. And it is about establishing your core values, your visions. And I know, I come from a family of entrepreneurs, but I have role models. But for them to work with me, we have different vision, so we haven't been able to work together. So it's kind of interesting, but I believe in both, that if you have the same vision, you have the same purpose and the same risk factor, great. You want to go ahead and go into business. If not, then you may not. You may want to think twice about that. Or I like what Jennifer said. You set those boundaries. You have those what your roles are and so forth, and you can do business together. So I believe it could be both ways. I mean, if you look back, there's family generations, right? That has been passed down through generations, and they work fine together. But then there's also generational where the person didn't like the business at all and wanted to walk away from it. So I think it's both.
And I do think it's easier when you already have something established for you to get involved, the family involved with. I'll give you an example: the Walton family. Hey, it's easy to get along with your family if there's hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah. Hey, we'll all get along just fine. Or if you look at what Rockefeller did generation after generation, and the Rockefeller family, or the Rothschild family. But it's much different and more difficult when it's a startup, when everyone is struggling just to survive. Right? If you and your family members are trying to build a startup and you're all struggling, it's very easy for the mood to sort of go sour, right? Yeah. So I think that's a big distinction as well. And you brought something up that I want everyone to dive into, Michelle, and that's values. Okay, and we've talked on this show and this program about personal values from a personal development and leadership standpoint, but how does that apply to running a business? I want to start with Anshuman Sinha. Anshuman, when we talk about values in business, first of all, what are the values of your business, right? Secondly, why did you choose for these values to be the values of your business as the leader? And how do you even define, and what's the role of values in business? The mic is yours.
Sure. Thanks, Mo. Values, big word, but how you define it defines your business. You can do business and have results doing business ethically. Another, you can do some shortcuts. Being the CEO of the company, you can take time off. You don't give time off to your employees. So how you compare yourself, you will have to lead it from the front. You have to set examples. And in your team also, you have to put that, success is in the mind. Unless you start believing in success, unless you start achieving, thinking of achieving that, you can achieve the goal. As soon as you have a plan B, that means you did not realize that, you don't agree to your plan A. So it is very important that, to set the goal right, be ethical in business, time commitment has to be there. And these are some of the things which has worked wonderfully for me and for my 3-4 businesses so far. The more you give to the employee base, the more they give you back in return. When you call them, they are there for you. They are willing to work more harder than you, shoulder to shoulder, even though knowing fully well that, being the owner of the company, you will be taking the lion's share of the profit. But if you create a good culture, ethical culture of business and treat everyone fairly, then business has only one way to go, that is up. Be it revenue-wise, be it profit-wise, be it the quality of the product or the service.
And Anshuman, it's interesting because if you look historically from the perspective of military strategy, the generals that always had the most respect from the soldiers were the generals that were in the battle with the soldiers, not the generals that were calling shots from hundreds of miles away from some ivory tower. But the generals that were shoulder to shoulder, that went in the battle, were the ones that always had the utmost amount of respect from their soldiers. So definitely the same, rules apply in the world of business. I want to go to Jennifer. Hopefully the technical issues have been healed up. Go ahead, Jennifer. The floor is yours. Okay, it sounds like Jennifer is still figuring that out. So for the time being, I want to go to Axel Tillman. Axel, the floor is yours. Values in business.
I think it all starts first out with the values that you have for yourself and what your business is supposed to be. Let us assume that everybody in business has a certain level of intelligence you can apply to many things, dirty businesses as well as good businesses. If you have a value system inside yourself, you would never entertain bad businesses, things that are not ethical. I agree there with Anshuman. Everything else follows after this principle. yes, as a CEO, you should be the leader also in your work ethics. It's not like you take 50% of the time off and let your employee work 120% overtime, right? So this is not how it's supposed to work. You need to be on a leadership position in demonstrating what you want to do. But now I have to shift. You need to also present value to your target market. If you don't have a value, then why are you in business? And I think it all begins that too many people are focused on making money, lots of money, versus being focused to deliver a value. And because money comes as a secondary effect, if you have really something cool, it doesn't matter. Over time, you will make a lot of money. But if you focus on how to quickly make some money, you may not get this money ever at all, because your focus is wrong, your values are wrong.
I agree with that, Axel. You know, whenever someone messages me and DMs me and asks me, Mo, in your opinion, how can I make more money? My answer is always the same. My answer is very simple. This is what I say. You want to make more money? And usually they say yes. Forget about money. When you forget about money and you do it authentically, you will make more money. I want to now try Jennifer again. As you guys all know, this is 2020, so technical issues are part of our day-to-day life now. Jennifer, the floor is yours. Values in business.
So as we know, mindset is very important. Like Michelle had pointed out, mindset is super important. And so I do everything from the subconscious mind. So all of your values, everything you do in business is driven by your values, but your values are stored at the subconscious level. So they were instilled in you throughout time, but mainly when you were a child, even in business. So the goal is to sit there and ask yourself, what's important to me about business? And then whatever pops into your mind, that's the answer. And you don't think about it, you ask yourself and you make a list of your values. And that's what I did for my company. I do that for my health. I do that for my relationships, for my family. And again, like we said, money should not be your top value. However, money should be in your top 10 values when it comes to business. Not in the top 3, but it should definitely be there, because at the end, that's a part of business. But you know, you have to sit there and look and say, what are your values? And then it makes making business decisions very, very easy. You just sit there and say, is it in alignment with my values? Yes or no? Then that's the decision you make. It's very simple. When you're hiring employees, here's the values. What are you in alignment with these values? If they're not the employee to work for you. Same with clients. You know, I want to make sure that they're with us, that we're going to make this work together. And so you do, it's very easy. If you don't know how to determine what your values are, you just sit there and ask yourself, what's important to me about business? Whatever's coming to your mind, that's what's important to you about business. Those are your core values. So it's important that you should know what those are. So therefore it makes, like I said, it makes running a business very simple.
You're watching Monday Night Live right here on Amazon Fire TV. We're going to take a short 1-minute break, and we're going to come back with more right here on Amazon Fire TV, Monday Night Live.
Hello and welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune. Since 1886, our name has been a part of the world of journalism. We've earned a reputation for being a publication that practices integrity, authenticity, and responsibility. For general inquiries, contact today. Thank you on behalf of the Los Angeles Tribune team.
And welcome back right here to Monday Night Live, right here on the LA Tribune TV channel on Amazon Fire TV. We're talking values in business on this week's CEO Roundtable. Talking about values, I know that this is a person that has used his values to become very successful for himself and others, and that's David Hernandez. David, the floor is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. So everyone mentioned some good some feedback on the subject here. You know, I think when it comes to values, I think one of the biggest things in business is being honest with yourself. I always say, we tend to be our biggest enemy because we're not honest with ourselves, right? There's a saying where they say your actions speak louder than words. And a lot of the times the way that, our leadership in these businesses, what they're doing, not only in business, what the employees see, but what they're doing in their personal lives, a lot of the times is a lot different than what they're kind of telling their employees, right? And that actually has a negative impact on a business because now you're not a man of your word and you kind of lose that authenticity or that integrity that you have. So it is very important to be honest with yourself. And a lot of the times it is subconscious, right? So you got to kind of dig and kind of think through because a lot of this is ingrained in you from years and years and years. And once you get to know yourself a little bit better and be honest with yourself, then you can truly know what are your real values, what's your real intention, right? That's a big thing for me. What's your intention behind all this? I think money is important in a business. Obviously, it's required to make a business stay afloat and to be profitable and be efficient and continue to thrive and move in the right direction. But I don't think money should be at the very top of the list. There's been a lot of businesses where money is the main value, and there's been companies that are very successful like that. A lot of the times they're maybe not very happy because money doesn't bring you happiness at the end of the day. But a lot of the times, putting an emphasis on money, purely money, which a lot of young or new entrepreneurs tend to do because a lot of it's ego or they want a certain lifestyle. They're not really sure exactly what they want in life or what they're actually trying to accomplish. A lot of the times, and not always, but it can be so problematic because it leads to making irrational decisions, making short-minded decisions, right? Making poor decisions that aren't focused on the bigger picture. It's so narrow that it's not going to have that impact that they wanted to have on their business. So for myself, right, and everyone's values are different. My values is it's one, it's my employees, it's two, it's my consumers, and three, it's just doing the right thing. Quite honestly, when I was young, my grandmother always told me, the golden rule in life, which is to treat others how you want to be treated. I'm big on that, whether it comes to my employees, my consumers, but it's with everyone, right? So I kind of, preach that message to our employees, preach that message to our business in general, so that our consumers know that we're truly here to make a difference, right? We're here to make a positive impact on society and our economy. It's not all about the money. It has nothing to do with that, right? That's not the goal, which is why I believe our business has been successful, because if money is the value, as soon as you start making money, what's to incentivize you to continue to strive and work hard? What's going to continue to motivate you and drive you to go to the next level? As soon as you get to where you want to be at, where all of your needs are met, and maybe even a little bit of extra is met because you have the funds to live that lifestyle, things start to go sideways because then your eyes get taken off the business, and now who's driving the steering wheel? I mean, how do you know where you're going to go? Eventually, it's like walking on a cliff in the dark. Eventually, you're going to fall off and you're going to crash because you weren't paying attention the entire time. So if money's not behind it and there's something else behind it, it doesn't matter if you make $1 million or $10 million or $100 million. It's not about that. You're constantly focused on, I want to continue to provide a positive service to our consumers and to help our employees, just better themselves, better their lives, and better their families.
You mentioned a lot of powerful things in there, David, one of which was intention, and we're going to visit intention. And I want to talk to Michelle Wilson in just a moment about her perspective on values. But before I go there, I want to bring Tehran in this, because what I know about I Do Systems, Tehran, is that I Do Systems has a multitude of different ways that they look at businesses, they look at startups. And what's interesting to me about this conversation are things that are not as tangible. We're talking about values. We're talking about integrity. We're talking about intention. We're talking about things that are not necessarily as easy to read as something that's on a P&L sheet. So what I want to know, Tehran, is as someone who analyzes businesses ins and outs, first of all, talk a little bit about what I Do Systems does so people are on the same page, and then talk about how you guys look at company values when it comes to the algorithm of whether or not they'll be successful or not. And then after you, we want to go to Michelle Wilson. But please talk about that a little bit, Tehran, because I think people would be interested to see that correlation. Go ahead.
Sure, yeah. So I Do Systems, we provide software solutions to help businesses become sustainable. Not just software solutions either, but definitely solutions to the issues causing the death rates. And kind of to piggyback on what was said earlier, our goal initially was to stop the death rates that's been consistent since 1990. The same exact numbers. After year 2, 20% dead in the water. Year 5, 50% dead in the water. Year 10, 76 dead in the water. And over 400,000 start every year. So that's what we call a spoke in the wheel of a problem. So this isn't a problem to somebody or to too many, because the numbers don't change. So, we noticed a lot of people would get into entrepreneurship or into this problem solving scenario just as a spoke in the wheel. They weren't trying to change the wheel. The wheel wasn't a problem to them. We want to change the wheel. We want that stat to change. So we had to look at what's the difference in small businesses and Fortune 500 companies. What's the difference in Starbucks and the mom and pop coffee shop? They both sell coffee, but the infrastructure, the concept from the beginning, the mind frame, the team around them, how it was built and developed was different. So we took those building blocks and we put them inside of a software so that if you want to do a barbershop, you want to do it like a Fortune 500 company in a short, concise way. One of the questions that's asked in the assessment, or as the benchmark steps are taking you step by step through all the life cycle stages, is can everyone on your team recite your mission statement? Mm-hmm. Your vision, your mission statement, because these are very critically important components of a business. It's not like you guys have been saying, it's not really just the money that's coming in, it's what's the problem that you're solving? What's the solution that you're providing? Because the money is attached to that. But is everybody on your team in line with the same mission and vision? Because that's the cohesiveness. That's going to make the, that's going to cause the business to succeed or to be sustainable or to carry on when unforeseen occurrences come in or what have you. The fact that you're all have the same values or the goal or the same mission statement. If that answered.
Good points there. Go ahead,
Can I jump
Natalie.
in there real quick, Mo? Because that brings to my mind another question. I think everybody talked about the value and connecting with the employees, with the people who work towards the mission. What is the importance of an advisory board? And this may seem like a strange question, but it seems to me that an advisory board, those are maybe your family members, maybe not, but they need to be on the mission. They need to hold you accountable as well, right? So does every business need to have an advisory board? What are your thoughts on
It's an interesting question. Let's start with Michelle Wilson, since she has been patiently waiting. Go ahead, Michelle. The floor is yours.
Yes, I believe so. Even though I'm a solopreneur, I have an advisory board because I don't know what I don't know when it comes to business. So I would say, yes, you want someone who has more wisdom and has more advice, and they can, look at you and share with you, not so much criticize what you're doing, but they just can give so much wisdom. So I definitely believe in having an advisory board, having someone who's had more experience than I have. And it allows me to shift my thinking because I only know what I know. And, I'm really loving this conversation. You were talking about the core values. And I know a few years ago, I was focused on the money and I hit burnt out. I mean, I was 10 years building this business and I was so focused on sales, hitting the transaction. And I woke up one day where I was just miserable. I couldn't get out of bed. Every bone in my body ached. And so I knew I had to do something differently. So now I really focus on, it's really about creating a business that is family oriented because I love family. I want it to be love. And my focus is really, as a CEO, I believe my responsibility is to help people grow and to lead them. And so that's one of my core values, is just really helping people to develop and grow whatever area it is in my business or in their business. So that's how I shifted my thinking. It's more about relationships, not transaction. It's about the mission, not commissions. And so I experienced it firsthand. I say the School of Hard Knocks. I learned it from the School of Hard Knocks. That's how I learned my CEO Roundtable experience. So that's all.
It's about the mission, not the commission. My friend Carlos Sequeira, our mutual friend, loves to say that. So shout out to Carlos. He'll probably be joining us next week. He's one of our regulars here on Monday Night Live. Natalie, since you brought up this idea of advisors, depending on where you're at with your career and with your business, you could be on either side of that. There's a couple people on this panel who I know are seasoned veterans and who are actually on many other people's companies as advisors, one of which is Axel, one of which is Anshuman. And I want to go first to Axel about what it's like to be an advisor on the other side of the table. When you're advising companies, what is it that you find rewarding on that other side? And what are some challenges that you've helped a lot of startups walk through that the people watching at home can take away?
Yeah, so challenges. I find most of the startup entrepreneurs that I see in the initial stages, when they don't understand the thinking of the market or the thinking of the investors, I find that they don't know how to express with a clarity of what their products actually are. And I always say to them, that I feel there's something inside your mind that you don't express here. And then you have to go and drill down to understand what is actually really there and how you can pivot the idea over to a very interesting and appealing position for the market. Now, on the role of the advisor, there's actually two levels on companies, especially when you get investment. You have actually a formal board of directors, and you have a board of advisors. The advisors are a more casual arrangement of people that you can talk to, while the directors hold you more accountable. The directors actually do have the power to fire you as a CEO. It's the only position they can actually have influence on. They can actually fire the CEO when he doesn't do a good job. And many people are afraid to take on investors. Oh, then I lose my job. Let me tell you, no investor has actually an interest to fire a CEO or the management team or shuffle it all up. They would love for the company to succeed. The cases I have seen when the CEO got fired, it was in his best interest, because guess what? He is the largest shareholder of the company. And in his own interest to grow the value of his business, he will have to be let go if he cannot deliver on the growth or on the mission of the company. And many people are afraid, so therefore they don't take strong advisors, they don't take strong board of directors, they always try to wiggle them out, and that is a danger that I see very often. You always want to work, even in the C-levels below you, with the strongest people you can find, people that are smarter than you, people that know things that you don't know. Only then can you actually excel. And that is one of the challenges young startup entrepreneurs need to learn very quickly.
Interesting. Let's go now to, and by the way, Axel, I think that startups that have you as an advisor and businesses, seasoned businesses that have you as an advisor, are very lucky. You and I work together and have worked together in that capacity, and you definitely have a talent, and as the decades has proven, of being able to guide, go left, go right, go straight, pause. So definitely you've proven that. I want to go to Anshuman on the subject matter before we do our final touch with everyone as we wrap up this week's episode. Anshuman, how do you stand on this idea of being an advisor? Because I know you're primarily on the other side of the table as well. There's a lot of startups that constantly reach out to you asking for help, asking for advice. I've seen it firsthand at some of our wonderful Thai SoCal events, how, when you come off stage, people just bombard you like a rock star saying, Anshuman, I have this startup. Anshuman, I have that startup. My aunt has this startup. My sister has this startup. And these days, everyone knows someone with the startup. It's a real fascinating time to be alive in that regard. But Anshuman, how do you look at this whole process? The floor is yours.
Yeah, so both sides, Mo, I'll take a couple of minutes over here. If you are advising a company, it is so fulfilling. More so, you give them as a task that, hey, go do this and come out with the results. It is your idea, somebody else is running with it. So it is such a fulfilling, thing for you. It satisfies your soul. But here's the thing, Axel brought in 2 points, board of directors and board of advisors. Just for any startup, don't have a board of advisors just for the heck of it, just to look those names good on your website. Take their real advice and work on those advice. They are many a times they are available to you for free. So talk to them, understand, go, it is like, going to a specialist doctor for your problem. They will give you the right pill. They will guide you in the right direction. But, and board of directors, obviously, if you are taking third-party money, then, they are going to make sure that, there is a board seat and they are going to control you like that. But then there is also another thing that you could do is to get a board observer seat. If you have spent some money in there, take an observer role in that company, which is you are not getting paid for that, but at least where in which direction that company is going. And that also helps a lot in guiding the company in the right direction. So, but for me, as you said, Mo, I do advise people, I do advise companies. it is such a fulfilling thing, for any startup owner, as again, Axel has said that, you could be very good in what you do, but there are various pillars for a successful business. You may not be good in everything. So if you have advisors from the different role, from the financial industry, from the operations, from the HR, it really helps in bringing in the right value to the company to help you build your company.
Absolutely. And you, just like Axel, are very talented in advising. For full disclosure, though, I am a little biased because both Axel and Anshuman happen to be my advisors as well as my mentors. Luckily, though, they're not on the board of directors. They're on the board of advisors, so they can't fire me if I make a mistake. That's the good news. I want to go to David Hernandez. As we're wrapping up the program, folks, I want to hear a final thought about what is a takeaway that you can give the person watching this at home, and they maybe are in a place where they're struggling in business right now. They're facing a challenge, they're facing pain, they're facing fear of they don't know the future of their business. There's a lot of people in that category right now in the world that are watching this. So I want to hear from every single person on the panel to give their concluding thoughts. What is the final thing you want to say, with the emphasis on that person out there that's in pain and fear, on something you can give them to help them? Let's start with David Hernandez. Final thoughts. Floor is yours. Mr. David Hernandez, CEO of Gold West Financial.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that question is going to vary, obviously, per business, per industry, per different thing. But in general, I would say, don't be negative. Be positive, as hard as that might be. COVID-19 has had a tremendous negative impact on our economy in some areas, and it's had a positive impact on some other areas. I think the biggest thing is to stay confident, stay positive, reevaluate everything, whether it's broken, not broken, reevaluate everything from A to Z, really dissect every component of your business, because they're all going to impact it together, and look at and see if there's any way to modify, make things more efficient, cut down on costs, right? Just become leaner and stronger, and maybe think about some things that you weren't thinking about before, because there's always a way to push through it. At the end of the day, it's all about keeping your head above water, right? And obviously, if you're currently going through a hard time and you weren't looking at that previously, it can be a little bit difficult, because now it's not that it's too late, it's just you're already dealing with the issues at hand. But I think moving forward in life, assuming you can push through it and get out of that, I think it's important to always be concerned, even if there's no concern, right? You're gonna hope for the best, but plan for the worst, so to speak, right? Just because something isn't going wrong, think about having backups or alternative ways to pivot your business if it goes wrong. So when you go through a pandemic, you're going through some type of financial hardship, you're going through whatever obstacle in life, you're not all of a sudden now trying to deal with it last minute, right? It's something that you've already thought about before. So you already have the solutions in place. So always keep your head above water to make sure that you're never in a situation where you're going to lose everything that you have and jeopardize your business.
Incredible, David. Thank you for that. And I definitely appreciate the work you do with Gold West Financial, really a groundbreaking company. And I think that if you haven't heard of David Hernandez and Gold West Financial yet, make a mental note of that, because I think that he's going to be one of the pioneers and leaders in the world of business for many years to come. Since you brought up mindset, David Hernandez, I want to go to someone who has actually trademarked something called the Mindset Diet, which I think is a really cool trademark, and I think that'll be an appropriate segue. Jennifer, final thoughts? In conclusion, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I think the pandemic, like David just said, has really forced people to start moving their box and start looking at alternatives and being able to pivot and change as things change. And you get what you focus on, right? A mindset is you get what you focus on. So if you're going to focus on a lack, if you're going to focus on all the negative things that are happening, then don't be surprised if you're attracting more of that. Instead, you need to focus on what it is that you want. Get very clear on what it is that you want. More money is not clarity, okay? You need to get very clear on everything. Where do you see, what's the vision for your company? Where do you see yourself going? What are the goals that you have? Because money is only the amplifier. Money's not the driver for anything that you're doing. It's just the amplifier. So just go out there and be willing to pivot and be willing to be coached and see what other people are doing. The people surviving the pandemic, the companies that are thriving during the pandemic were one step ahead. They were already digital. They had already prepared in case something like this was to happen. If you're not online, if you're not doing most of your stuff online, then you're way behind the times, because God forbid something happens like this and now everyone's online. But it took something like the pandemic to happen where everybody decided that they have to have that online presence, that they have to have things available in the digital world. And it's just the way we're headed. It's been that way for a long time. So stay focused on your mission, stay focused on where you're going with your business, and don't deviate from it. And you got this.
I love that. Thank you so much for that. So many gems of wisdom. I hope the folks watching at home who tune in every Monday take notes. And I hope that they take handwritten notes, because it actually facilitates whole brain thinking. But that's a whole different subject matter for another day. Let's go to Tehran Glover, who I know deals with this issue quite a bit. People come to you constantly, Tehran, with the problem of not making enough money, or not feeling fulfilled enough, or not feeling successful enough. And you've really studied this, because I Do Systems is really all about helping people grow their business, right? And you've studied this perhaps more than anyone that I know over the last few years, with you and Carlton and the different people involved in I Do Systems. So what is something that you can say, because you've really paid your dues as far as understanding this and putting in the time and energy to figure this out? You know, you and Carlton have spent a lot of time like two mad scientists looking at all the, X's and O's of business. And I think you guys really understand the equation as well as anyone. So I'm excited to hear your final thoughts on this. The floor is yours.
Sure, yeah. And kind of piggybacking on what's been said previously, it's really mind frame and being true to what your mission is and knowing what your mission is. I mean, we started this over 4 years ago. And what I would tell anyone that's an entrepreneur, or is getting in business, or considering business, or trying to go to the next level, is that everything happens for you, not to you. It's mind frame. 2020 was the best year because it prepared you for 2021, which is inevitably coming within 30 days. And you have every resource around you to make your success as exponential as possible. But you have to be proactive and look for it, search for it, grab people smarter than you, build advisors around you that can objectively help you get to where you're trying to go. It's all really, really mind. We had no idea 4.5 years ago COVID was going to hit this year. But we began with the end in mind. There's a problem we were going to solve. So we all conspire right along with the universe to make everything happen. Just as Jennifer said, now we do that on the positive end or the negative end. I tend to tell people in my salutations or greetings, or when we're leaving, don't have a good day, make it a great day, because it's entirely up to you. We don't have to just let stuff happen. We can proactively create, I'm just going to, I forget who said it, shoot for the moon. If you miss, at least you'll be amongst the stars. Mm-hmm. It's really a way to be. People ask me when I'm talking to them, hey, how you doing today? And I say, awesome, too grateful to complain, always good. They'll say, wow, that's great. And I'll respond, it actually is. Not just to say, but just turn it on and just choose to be that. No matter what's going to happen is going to happen, but you get to choose you're going to be. So choose to succeed in your business endeavors. That's what I would say to entrepreneurs. And don't be the smartest person in the room.
Yeah. Thank you for all those gifts, Tehran. Wow. I mean, you said a few real powerful things. My main takeaway is that I haven't really heard before is don't have a good day, but make a great day, because that fundamentally shifts the way that your outlook is on your day, which fundamentally shifts your choices and therefore your destiny. Because if I'm having a good day, what does that mean? That means I'm just accepting whatever the day gives me. I'm accepting whatever the day gives me. But if I'm making it a great day, I'm looking at my day like an empty canvas with a paintbrush in my hand, and I get to actually paint whatever painting I want to make. And as business owners, it is so important to have that mentality that I'm not just going to have a good day, but I'm going to make it a great day with my paintbrush and with this empty canvas in front of me. So I think that is a real powerful game changer, Tehran. And I hope the people watching this at home are realizing how lucky they are to be hearing these gems every week on Monday Night Live, right here on the Los Angeles Tribune. Let's go now to Axel Tillman. Axel, are you having a good day?
I have always a good day. Or a great day. Because the one thing that I would like to put on top of Tehran is forget judgment. Stop judging what's happening around you. That's the first basis of no longer being negative, right? Once you judge, even what you think is a failure, it may not be a failure, but you don't see the consequence of what you have been doing. until a later point of time, and it turns out to be a blessing.
Mhm.
So right now, we are seeing a relatively very bad economy ahead of us. People are frustrated, but guess what? The old stock market philosophy is buy low, sell high. So we are in a beautiful opportunity where things are low and there's only one way to go, upwards from here, right? It's only one way to go, upwards. And I have seen companies, because I got through many down cycles already in my life, when a company with even a great idea was started 1 or 2 years before the peak, where everybody sold for 100x multiples, but they missed this because they were a little bit late to the game. They crashed and burned in the downside. But when you're in the bottom and you come back up again, there is no downside in which you can crash. So this is a really comforting feeling for starting something new right now and coming out smelling like a rose at the end of the day.
Absolutely. You know, there's always light at the end of the tunnel, and, you know, the dawn always comes after the darkness. You know, we've been blessed here on Monday Night Live, Natalie. We have a whole host and a whole myriad of Monday Night Live alumni members. And those of you that are on the panel here for the first time from here on out are considered Monday Night alumni. And one of our alumni, Carla Elizondo, in the virtual auditorium said, mindset determines our results. Results shouldn't determine our mindset. And I just thought that was a powerful game changer. And, you know, the whole point of what we do here every Monday is it's an interactive show where the audience is literally a part of the show, as opposed to traditional media where you're just watching and consuming. So we appreciate all of those in the virtual auditorium that are also part of the panel. So let's go now to Natalie, because Natalie, I feel like you have so much you can add to this and contribute to this. Anyone that's read your best-selling books, anyone that has read your columns on the Los Angeles Tribune, anyone that's attended your speeches knows that this subject matter is near and dear to you, and the work that you've done and the work that you've put in for many years. So I really want to just, before we wrap the show up, at least give you the platform to touch base on this.
Well, thank you, Mo. Thanks for putting me over. I really appreciate that, because it means a lot to be just mentioned like that. So I want to say a couple of things, and I love this conversation because my last article was actually about values. And everybody here on this panel talked about values, not just your own values, but giving value. And it's that more spiritual side, right? How we come out, how we share, how we care about humanity. And that care, I love how that came out with everybody. This whole conversation. The other piece was, of course, the judgment that Axel just mentioned, because it's something that we talk so much about judging. We put labels on everybody. And I think Jennifer mentioned earlier, labels and boxes. And we're in these boxes that don't fit. I have cats. I love cats. And they get into boxes and into glasses that you don't think that fit them. I mean, you have no idea how they get in and out of those. But they make it fit because that's what they want. And so it's really for entrepreneurs, it's to do what their purpose and their mission tells them to, and to follow through with that. You know, we started out by talking about grid. We talked about persistence. It's all about that constant learning so that we evolve, and with us, our businesses evolve, and with that, humanity evolves. To me, as a lifelong learner, the learning, and I saw Angelina Monaco saying that a couple of times, interactively in the virtual auditorium. She kept saying, yeah, we're learning. Yes, I'm learning something. That is so crucial. But at the same time, I do want to point something out that I noticed. And that's just because, sometimes as a little bit of a revolutionary, I have to. Has anybody else noticed, and I'm looking at the other two ladies on the panel right now, has anybody else noticed that we kept talking about he, the CEO, he, the CEO, and it kept coming across as he. And I was sitting here, I was like, that's really interesting. Because if we're looking at it, what we're talking about as the features of a great CEO, that's really more the feminine energy. So I found that just fascinating that on the one hand, we're all about values and we're breaking all those boundaries. And on the other hand, we're still wrapped in some of the traditional language. So just wanted to point that out and just say, I think I forget who said it. I want to say it was David, because everybody had so many nuggets, but really keep evaluating the constant reflection that we have for our lives and our businesses. They have to go together. And the last 30 days is crucial for that.
I think Jennifer did want to add to that. She did raise her finger. Before we go there, you did mention your article, Dr. Forrest, which is available on the front page of the Los Angeles Tribune. Of course, Dr. Natalie Forrest has a column called Pathways, which has been a big hit. And many of those articles have gone viral around the world. But Jennifer, I know you wanted to say something. Jennifer, the floor is yours. Okay, Jennifer, you're gonna have to unmute. Oh, there we go.
It was just a thumbs up, actually.
Okay.
As in, it is true. It is completely true what she's saying. But I think women, it affects them in their mindset that they do feel like they're less as a CEO mentality than a man.
Incredible. Now, I want to let the panel, if there's anyone else that has final words, final thoughts, this is your chance before we end the program this week right here on Amazon Fire TV. Is there anyone that has a final word they want to say? Please raise your hand before we lock and load. Go ahead, Miss Michelle Wilson. Final word is with you.
My final word is, we talked about mindset. And so for me, it's bringing that heart set back into business. That's the she, that's the feminine. And so really, letting people where they're at with creating boundaries, I believe, as a CEO, but it's okay to love people in your business. So I want to bring that with you.
I agree. And really, Michelle, love it always comes back to love, right? At the end of the day, everything comes back to that powerful word, love. And we've talked about love quite a bit. Speaking of love, a man that I love, Axel Tillman, you also raised your finger. So go ahead. The floor is yours.
Cultural insight. What Natalie is saying is partially also coming from the fact that we have actually genders in German, right? We have a male and we have a female CEO as a word, chef and chefin. And we also have the neutral word. It's called translated one, right? You would say one as a leader. And it's no longer male or female. This language is absent of all these ability of expression, which therefore it has gotten a very much tainted male version of the language.
Good point.
Absolutely.
Good point.
And I think that as time shifts, language also shifts. And, having a conversation about the divine masculine and the divine feminine is something that we're going to touch base a little bit next week right here on Monday Night Live. So it's you definitely don't want to miss it. Anshuman Sinha, I saw that you also raised that powerful finger. So go ahead, sir. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Mo. And just building upon what Michelle said about mindset, and let me give you the final thought of tonight. If you write the words opportunity without space, is nowhere. If you are a fighter, if you are a business owner who now knows how to pivot, they will read it as opportunity is now here. So it is just the mindset, how you look at things, how positive you are, that defines how much bigger you are going to build your business.
Yes. Awesome.
Powerful gems of wisdom. Thank you all for watching this episode of Monday Night Live right here on Amazon Fire TV. Quick reminder to join us next week as we do a deep dive in a subject matter that'll help you lead your life, lead your business. Mark your calendars. February 20th and 21st, we have a major event. We're expecting 100,000 people to attend this event. Our last event was off the charts with tens of thousands of people, and this event is going to be major. Lots of special guests will be there. The Quantum Leap 2021 experience. So mark your calendars. You don't want to miss it. And with that, we want to thank all of our incredible panelists for sharing their time, their expertise, and their wisdom with the world here today and our wonderful friends in the virtual auditorium. My name is Mo Rock alongside Dr. Natalie Forrest. As always, remember to tune in every Monday Night Live right here on Amazon Fire TV. Thank you all for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.